Welcome to the Creator Spotlight, the interview portion of the Spotlight here on Fightful. I am Steven Jensen, as always, with Jeremy Lambert, and we have a first-time guest to the Spotlight here today. We have Dan the Dad, who I've known for a long time, a guy that I owe a lot to, giving me interviews back when very few people were giving me interviews years back. So a guy who I always have greatly appreciated. I remember him back as the Millennial, a lot of stuff throughout the Glory Pro days, and now got him, part of AEW, doing great stuff, part of the PWR Tag Team Champions with Jake Manning. We have Dan the Dad. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. I mean, I'm going to ask the question right out of the gate that I think everyone wants to know. Is Toa Liona okay? Like, did you check on him after the match to make sure he was good? What happened there?
It's my first incident of being accused of being an unsafe worker, but I think Toa's okay. I did reach out to him to make sure to apologize for the working stiff on Dark last week, but I think he's all right. I mean, he won the six-man, the tag team champions there, so I think he's having a better week this week. And he got his weapons on me later on in the match. I feel like if you didn't see the whole match, then you know that he indeed did squish me in the corner with some sort of pounce maneuver, and that didn't feel good. So Toa's okay, but he's a good guy.
How does it feel? Kind of going viral recently, man. Like I thought it was really cool seeing that clip blow up.
Yeah, it was fun. Indianapolis was cool, because I think the biggest thing was I guess there was an assumption that that's my hometown, or that those are my fans, like, people that have seen me before, but it really wasn't. I'm from St. Louis. I've only probably wrestled in Indianapolis 2-3 times in my close to 9-year career. So yeah, it was cool just to kind of be able to get that kind of reaction and have that kind of fun with a crowd that was outside of really my area. So even if they just thought I looked like a stupid dad guy or whatever, they got into it. So that was a lot of fun. Hopefully we can keep the momentum going. But even if it was just one little thing, and having a fun week with that was cool.
How did Dan the Dad come about? How did this creation come into the wrestling world?
Other than I started to feel like a dad, because I'll be 30 next month, so that's kind of you start to feel older. You start to realize that even Steven, like you said, I used to wrestle as the millennial, but now millennials are parents, so it's not even really a parent. So it comes about from just being a natural dork and being made fun of by Ethan Page and some people over the years who kind of pitched the idea of this Dan the Dad character, and then I sort of just bought into it because it was a lot easier for me to portray than trying to act like I was cooler than everyone, because clearly I'm not. So it was just gave it a try and just kind of leaned into it, because it started to become more fun to put on a show for the fans and connect with them in a more meaningful way. And that the first time I gave it a try, it was I was set. The millennial was a thing of the past. So sorry, Steven, I know you were a big fan back in the Southern Underground Pro days, where I'd see you there in Nashville, but things are going pretty good now.
Yeah, the No New Friends days, man. I remember those days very fondly. I actually remember you telling me in an interview years ago that you wanted to get more into comedy wrestling at that time. And I don't know if you had created Dan the Dad or were doing it at that point yet, but that always stuck with me, because I remember you mentioning guys like Orange Cassidy and stuff, and being like, I really want to really try something in that space. And how does it feel? I mean, it must be really rewarding that it's been such a success for you, all these years later.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, it's just about connecting with people, and there's wrestling can be it can be fun, and it can be something that people can really latch onto, even if they're not huge fans. From a lot, we kind of take it for granted, thinking that everyone's a wrestling fan, growing up watching it in 80s, 90s, whatever. But there's a lot of people out there that have never seen it, they've never heard of it, and they'll come see it, especially seeing like independent wrestling live for the first time. And it's nice to kind of be that maybe an entry point for people to get into a wrestling show, because then once they're nice and settled in and understand what's going on and they've had a laugh, then out comes someone like Josh Alexander or Eddie Kingston or somebody who's gonna kick ass, and now they're all set up for those guys as well. So it all just, it's fun to be part of something that all works together. I don't like to sit here and act like my style of wrestling is better than anyone else's, and it all just it makes for a fun variety show. So I'm happy to finally find my place with it, because you try so hard to find a footing and make a career out of it. But lately it's been going pretty good, but better than it was before. Even if I was doing a good job getting myself around, but you almost get a little bored just being a guy in boots and trunks, or at least I did. So we threw on some New Balance and gave that a try, but it's been cool.
Were there any influences when it came to the comedy wrestling style? Like Orange Cassidy has blown up. Danhausen, Colt Cabana, I feel like I don't know. I don't want to say he was like the first sort of Bushwhackers might even be like the first sort of comedy wrestlers. But were there any influences when it came into getting into that style?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously Orange Cassidy, he's the best at it and still is. Certainly was, a few years ago when I started trying this is when he was taken off. So watched him a lot, got a lot of influence and advice from him over the years. But going further back, it's like there's these characters that have existed in wrestling forever. It's like it's not this new thing that indie wrestling came up with in the past few years. I mean, it goes back to, I remember like my dad was, whenever I ask him about wrestlers that he remembers from back in the 80s and 90s, he brings up people like Papa Shango and IRS and Sergeant Slaughter and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and it's like you see people like that, and you can kind of go back and study even some of their mannerisms and how they connected with the crowd, even if they came out with a goofy look or some sort of funny attitude or something. They're all still perfectly sound wrestlers in the ring, and it's just something that people remember. They just remember great characters, and that's what I try to just bring to the table when it comes to being memorable and still having a great match. I'll still get serious here now and then, but that's kind of what just, portraying a character allows you to do. Eventually, Dan the Dad does have to get serious and does have to have some sort of street fight of some sort or Falls Count Anywhere something, which I've done recently, and it's fun to kind of play both sides of just this character and explore it, and there's a million ways you can go with it.
You have to put people in timeout. Dan the Dad's got to get strict, send them to their room.
Once in a while, it's not all fun and games.
Well, and recently I think it's been great you and Jake Manning teaming together. I think that's working really well. Can you kind of speak to that, how y'all linked up and the success that y'all are having together as a team?
Yeah, I mean, Man Scout's great. So at Revolver, we ended up just getting matched up in a singles match because, of course, Dan the Dad's got to fight Man Scout Jake Manning, and that's just a natural pairing. But it's a story that's been told a bunch of times in wrestling when two people have a match and how they respect each other, and then they decide to join forces because of there was some heels that needed their comeuppance, and but it was fun to kind of get together. And I mean, he's very talented too. I've known him for a long time. We obviously have sort of adjacent characters that work well together. So it was a natural fit, and Revolver ran with it. And then a couple weeks ago, we won the Revolver Tag Team Championships, and that was a really cool moment. Just because the crowd are the ones that really pushed for it, and we're the ones who really they latched on to our characters in this team. And so we got that win and kind of had that moment with the crowd, and it was a huge crowd because it was Revolver always has stacked shows, so they had Kenta there and a bunch of other great wrestlers from all over the world, and to kind of get that reaction alongside talent like that was really cool. And I love Revolver just for that reason, just being able to do what we do in front of a huge, awesome crowd in the Des Moines area. A lot of people from the Midwest travel there as well. I'll see them at other shows, and whether it's Kansas City or St. Louis or Chicago and everything. And it's like it's become a really good promotion that brings people together from all over. So it's one of my favorite places to go.
Awesome. Massive pop for the win, by the way. Massive pop from the crowd. So
yeah, that's all I'm there for. I live for the pop. So if I can get that, then I know I've done my job.
How did you decide to use the dad joke. For anyone who doesn't know, it is the, got something. There you go. Flick them in the nose. Like, when did you I'm going to incorporate this in a wrestling match?
That was early on. I remember I was it was a 4-way. So a lot of this came to be when Alpha One Wrestling up in Ontario. So, which is a place was run by Ethan Page at the time, and he would bring a lot of great talents. I remember it was like a 4-way or a 6-way match of some sort that it was like maybe my 3rd or 4th time even trying the character out up there. And we were like, I pitched it to, it was Ricky Shane Page actually. I was like, what about this? What if I just say something on your shirt and flick your nose? And I think he laughed so hard at just pitching the idea of that spot that I was like, you know what, let's give it a try. And then it worked. And then it became just a staple of something I do to find different creative ways to find, something on someone's shirt and make them look foolish. But it was very early on. It was like one of the first, I think like the first dad joke or dad thing that I thought of to incorporate. And that's just kind of been there, I guess, almost every match that I've done since then. It's not overused by now.
Has there been one yet that, I mean, I guess you don't want to spoil it maybe if you have some tricks up your sleeve, but has there been any that you've really considered and you haven't gone with yet, or something you want to throw out there that you think people just think is just a really funny concept?
Oh, there's plenty. I mean, one of my favorite things about the character is how many suggestions. It's like I need a suggestion box at the gimmick table or something, because everyone just has ideas. Whether someone, maybe the heel goes to touch the thermostat, or maybe the heel hasn't done his homework or something, and we get things like that. But yeah, there's definitely a few jokes or some shtick that I've got in the backlog. We'll see if we can get to it soon, but. But there's also the reliable something on your shirt, or just dad gets angry and gets the belt out, and but there's plenty to do, and that's the fun thing about it is there's so much dad related content to just borrow from, whether it's old sitcoms or jokes or my dad or anyone's dad really.
Well, that's the next question. What kind of sitcoms or movies, what kind of other dads have you really taken influence from?
I mean, pretty much every 90s sitcom dad, whether it's or like Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince, or even to Homer Simpson, or just things that you take things from different, whether they're more strict or angry dads, or a kind dad, or like the dad from Boy Meets World or something. There's just different. There's so many different levels to it, but don't want to get too angry or too strict, because that's problematic, but we keep it fun and breezy as much as we can.
How did the AEW appearances start out? I believe the first one was in November of 2021, and you wrestled Powerhouse Hobbs. So how did all that come together?
Yeah, just making connections, kind of getting within the within the circulation of the talent that are invited to TV, whether it's. So that one was for those their first loop of Kansas City and St. Louis. So obviously I'm in St. Louis, so it was easy to get to those. So it was just nice to get my name thrown in there by some friends that I have on the roster, and luckily didn't screw it up too bad. So I came back a few more times, but hopefully more in the future. But yeah, just kind of luckily I've been around the indies enough that everyone else who has a job can maybe someday help me get up there too. But I'm just thankful for anyone who's gone to bat for me with any sort of situation like that. It's not easy to get a foot in the door anywhere these days. So it's I was lucky enough just to get on the list, and even if you're on the list, even if you're there, there's no guarantee you have a match or anything to do that day. So then the day of, lucky enough to have been pulled. I remember I was sitting in catering. I didn't even think I was doing anything that day before. I got a text, and they said they're looking for you down here. And I said, "What are you talking about?" And so you got a match with Hobbs, and I'm like, "Oh, nobody told me." So I guess I had to run out of catering with a piece of shrimp in my mouth or something. Well, luckily it went well.
Well, speaking of people vouching for you in that small circle and stuff, I remember years ago you talking about guys like Airwolf. I remember obviously you've been closely with Ethan Page for a long time, and Ethan's been all over the place, of course, running his own promotion, and you have experience on that side as well, so you know what it's like not just as a talent, but also, other people trying to get onto your shows and stuff like that. So like, how's that all been? Like, just that whole mindset of just, for people who may not know, you were kind of thrown into a position of like having to take over Glory Pro Wrestling with like, how many years into the business yourself? Maybe 3 to 5 years of wrestling. So you really have like, you've seen all sides of this wrestling business very fast.
Yeah, I mean, at that time I was only about 4 years in. It's crazy to think that was almost like 5 years ago now too. So everything's gone so fast. But yeah, it's been, promoting is interesting because you just, I like to book people that I've seen before that are, not to say like I only book my friends or something, but you at least keep kind of a close circle because you just don't want to have people on a show who you don't know or aren't going to do very well, or if someone hasn't vouched for. So you do kind of develop a circle of people that know what they're doing and they're reliable, and then even just are good locker room people. That's important too. Just obviously if someone can get it done in the ring, but are they someone that you want to hang out with for the whole day at a show and who isn't going to give you a headache when you're trying to make the show run smoothly or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, you talk about like Airwolf and Dante and Darius Martin, those guys, like they were, some guys who came down from Minnesota who, proved themselves right off the bat. And obviously you see where they are now, but it was kind of cool to be a part of their journey early on because, they weren't doing too much when they kind of came into Glory Pro and started doing tag team stuff for us. And super proud of them to just, whenever I get a chance to see them, I always tell them that they're doing so great, and I'm proud of what they're doing. But yeah, it's just all about developing a circle of people who are they're talented, but also you get along with them. And luckily, and by now in AEW, it's kind of I know a lot of people who've come through there just because I booked them at some point with Glory Pro, and it's just nice to have that circle that's growing and everyone's doing so well. And it only helps the company, but you've had people come through the door that have gone on to bigger and better things. So that's part of it too.
You've mentioned Ethan Page and how he's helped you. What is it like going toy shopping with that man?
I've seen some of the vlogs, by the way, that you've been included in. So
yeah, those are fun. I will say I can't match the level of nerd that Ethan or any of the other people on the vlog, because man, toy shopping's fun, but I'm more of a, that's cool, I don't need to buy anything. But then when I see everyone throwing down all this money, I'm like, oof, I'm glad I don't have that I don't have that bug, that collector's bug. I'm just kind of look at their cool stuff and I'm like, wow, that's great. I'm glad you spent your money on that. I didn't, but it's fun. It's fun to it's fun to visit shops and just kind of talk about just fandom in general, for whether it be Star Wars or Marvel or any video games, anything like that is cool and it's fun. And anytime he's in town or I'm in town somewhere and he's filming one, I'm always gonna tag along just because it's just fun to hang out and be a part of it.
There was another guy, we spoke of Danhausen a little bit, but it's been kind of wild seeing both of your careers kind of parallel in a lot of ways. Because I remember years back, Donovan Danhausen, in those same sub circles we were just talking about in Nashville and stuff, like before he made the switch over into the comedy wrestling. So it's got how does it feel like to be a friend of Danhausen and also see, because he just became such like a thing on the internet. It was just so wild to watch this guy go from like this indie wrestler that felt like he just couldn't catch on to like completely blowing up.
Well, it's just the importance of finding what works for you. So if you're someone who gets over by being a serious wrestler in some boots and trunks, and that's great. But if you struggle with that or you can't find a footing or something, then I encourage anyone just to try something new, something different, just to stand out, because that's what he did. And he put so much effort into the Danhausen character and even the look and the videos and then connecting with a fan base the way he does with Patreon and things like that are just really important these days. I spun up a Twitch stream kind of over COVID because I didn't have much going on, and that kind of introduced me to the idea of just getting a community of people together to hang out and be a fan of the same thing and talk and have a place to chat. So but Danhausen always did a great job of facilitating that and making sure his fans just had a place where they could talk to him and hang out with him and hang out with each other and kind of just connect over, what is kind of a silly character, but has become like just so larger than life and bigger than even just being just a wrestler. Like he kind of transcends just being a wrestler, which is kind of the goal if you're really trying to push your career in that direction.
Yeah, also, really quickly, I know your Switch streams. You were doing Nintendo 64. I saw that. What are your favorite Nintendo 64 games? Because that's still my favorite console of all time.
GoldenEye #1 always, and then really just the N64 wrestling games, obviously.
Yeah.
Sure. Playing those, but I'd throw GoldenEye and Star Fox 64. Besides wrestling games, those are definitely my two favorites, and played them quite a bit on the stream back then.
Right. What are your GoldenEye, like when you're playing four player, 2-player, multiplayer? Like what are your rules?
I think we probably played like the Golden Gun rules the most. I always thought that was most fun, just being able to pick up the golden gun and get that one shot kill and piss somebody off pretty bad. Obviously, it didn't make for some interesting evenings with friends as you just get real pissed off at each other. But that's what makes it fun.
If you could recommend like 1, 2, 3 matches, for new fans who might not have heard of Dan the Dad, like this is the match you need to check out. Some of your favorite matches potentially in there as well.
The one that gets brought up the most is it's me, Orange Cassidy, Effie, and Danhausen in a wild 4-way match for Alpha One. You can find that on YouTube. It gets brought up all the time. So I've heard people say that was the first indie wrestling match they ever watched and they became fans. I think that's like the highest compliment. And it's just a fun match. That's just us being our characters and being silly with each other. So it's cool. Lately, as far as more recent stuff, me and Cody Lane had a last one standing match for Glory Pro on that last event on Fight Plus. That was really a lot of fun. If you want to see a different side of Dan the Dad, who gets serious once in a while and has like I said, like a no DQ sort of street fight kind of feel. That was cool. And then even also recently was me and Warhorse teamed up against Delirious and Matt Seidel, which was also for Glory Pro. But that one was important to me just because Delirious and Matt were they're like the original St. Louis indie guys who went on to bigger and better things. So we kind of had a battle of the St. Louis indie generations, or whatever you want to call it. That was so much fun. So you can find that one just should just be on YouTube. Easy to find as well.
Is all of Glory Pro stuff Fight Plus going forward right now?
Yeah, going forward. The backlog will take a while to get uploaded on there. They have so much GCW to put on, which is understandable. So bear with us to get the backlog up there. But going forward, yeah, Fight Plus has been really cool. I love that it's a little bit more of an affordable option for fans. $4.99 a month. How many subscriptions do we all have that eat up our bank accounts that for something to come in at kind of half the price of comparable services like that? I think it's just really good for wrestling and good for fans to make things accessible, but also make sure promotions are getting paid for their content, which can be difficult with streaming, because you used to be you could sell a DVD for $15-$20. Now one view of a whole stream nets you like 70 cents. So the economics of it, and that's across entertainment across the board. It's hard to make money on streaming. So, but Fight Plus has done a really good job of, just increasing the volume, increasing the amount of fans that have access to stuff, and are taking care of their content providers so far. So happy with it.
Yeah, it's been fascinating watching that the growth of Fight Plus, the whole concept. Because I'm not endorsed to say this, but like as somebody who really likes the service, you get the mixed martial arts and boxing and a whole bunch of stuff. So like you could potentially even find like non-wrestling fans. Like I've come across just random fighting events on Fight Plus just because I have the subscription and I wind up flipping it on. And so I just think it's a really great way for visibility and new fans. And then the service itself has been like really crisp and clear, and like I've been able to use it on all my different platforms and stuff. So I'm glad to see Glory Pro's got a good home there.
Yeah, it's been great. I think the other day I saw there's like a rugby stream that started with Fight Plus. I'm like, well, it's cool that someone who may have subscribed for rugby or boxing or something now has indie wrestling to watch. So it's only gonna help, just introduce our products to new people, which is the best thing.
Last one before we let you go. What is the coolest thing in your room?
The coolest thing in my room,
Yes.
I'd say that's so I'm a big Cardinal fan. Adam Wainwright's my favorite player and pitcher for the Cardinals, and he's known for his curveball. So I collect Adam Wainwright curveballs that are authenticated
awesome.
by. So when they'll take any ball that's put in play and they'll authenticate it and say who was the pitcher, what pitch it was, and everything. And so every time I go to the stadium, I'll pick up a Adam Wainwright curveball whenever I can, and I have a nice little collection of those. This is my own little. That's my stupid little thing that I collect.
So I don't know where you are right now, but can you show us one of those? Or
it's not in this room right now. I'll have to send you a picture of them.
Okay, we'll show a picture of it. We'll link like a picture in the description of the video because we like to everyone to show their favorite stuff in their room. Dude, as somebody who likes collecting just kind of like obscure niche stuff, that's like one of the coolest answers I've heard on this show. Like I love that you got your guy and your thing, and that's your collection. I think that's awesome.
Yep.
Dan, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Let everyone know where they can find you at.
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Thanks Dan the Dad. And then if you want to check out Glory Pro Wrestling, it's at We Are Glory Pro on Twitter. So we've also got a big show coming up on Fight Plus this Sunday, which I'll be on, as well as tons of others: Davey Richards, Warhorse, Laney Luck, Alley Catch, tons of great talent. So that's this Sunday at 4 Eastern, 3 Central. So check that out on Fight Plus. Or if you want to check out some merch, it's danthedad.bigcartel.com. We got coffee mugs, hats, shirts, whatever you need.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it, Dan. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at Thanks Dan the Dad. Everyone check out the Glory Pro show on Fight Plus this weekend. Go over there, support Fight Plus, support Glory Pro. Dan, again, thank you for joining us. Guys, we'll be right back here on the